This conference will now be recorded.
It is 9:31, Wednesday, September 6th. Thank you all for joining us at the KTMPO TAC meeting. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. And moving to agenda item 2, open for public comment. Is there anybody here from the public? Make a comment? I don't see anybody. Anybody online? Okay. All right, moving right along. Agenda item 3 is our staff update. All right. On the screen and in your packet, you'll see the upcoming KTMPO meetings. Those are all scheduled for 9:30 a.m. here in the Central Texas Council of Governments boardroom. There are some
Those are the FY24
meetings that have been changed. Proposed change.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
So these are the current meeting dates. There are proposed changes later in the meeting packet when we discuss the calendar where these may change. But all meetings are scheduled to be held here except at 9:30 a.m. except for the Freight Advisory Committee, which meets here at 2:30 p.m. Other updates we have are the 2024 TxDOT UTP was approved. This was a $100 billion plan for the next 10 years. And that was approved on August 16th. And then staff have opened up the call for projects. You should have all received an email from James or Dropbox. If you did not receive that, please let us know so James can troubleshoot that. If you have any other questions about that process, you can always call or email James about the project call. And then the air quality readings were 77 and 76 parts per billion. And as you'll see on the screen, that's quite a jump. And I'm going to let James kind of talk to why that jump is there.
Yeah, just as a reminder, these are the maximum numbers. So the values are shown are the highest for the whole month. And the very last weekend in August, there was a large mass of air that came from the north and with all the wildfires in Canada and I think some other stuff, it just picked up a lot. Whereas for most of the summer, we've been lower. I think the air has been coming off the Gulf of Mexico where it's not picking up as much ozone when it's out on the Gulf and comes in. But we had one bad weekend basically, and that's why it's so high.
Thank you, James. And you will also see in your packet the 2050 MTP development schedule. There haven't been any changes made to that since the last meeting. With that, I will open for any questions on the staff update. Seeing none, we will move to agenda item 4, which is an action item regarding approval of the minutes from the August 2nd, 2023 meeting. Those minutes are in your packet. I hope everybody had a chance to review those. If there are no revisions necessary.
Ryan? Yes. I think there's one typo on number 8. It says KTMPO's grant agreement with HWA has been fully executed. Grant, I think you've got an extra word in there. Should that just read grant agreement with HWA has been fully executed in the 3 proposals received?
Yeah. I think that's right.
So that revision.
Just removing a word.
Move to approve with the revision.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
Second.
Motion. I have a second over here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. That motion carries. Agenda item 5 is a discussion and action item regarding the KTMPO TAC and Policy Board meeting schedule for FY 2024. The action needed is to recommend approval of the proposed meeting dates. TAC typically meets on the first Wednesdays of the month. In our proposed schedule, we have pushed those for the January 3rd. We pushed to January 10th. and July 3rd. We pushed back to July 10th, the policy board meetings, which typically meet the third Wednesdays of the month. We propose pushing the December 20th meeting, or moving up the December 20th meeting to December 13th, and pushing the July 17th meeting to July 24th. Those dates are in the packet if you have one. Are there any other revisions needed potentially to the calendar? As always, if something comes up, a state or a national meeting that staff have to attend, we'll bring any additional changes that may be needed to the board for approval before making those changes. But as we sit now, these are our proposed dates for the FY 2024.
Yeah, I got a question. Should this be fiscal year 2024 up the top?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there, or what's the methodology or the thought process in moving the July from the 17th to 24th?
That was because we were pushing the TAC meeting. That gives staff the whole extra week to get everything ready for the policy board, as opposed to rushing. I know we've done it in the past. We've had TAC one week and policy board the following week. That puts a lot of pressure on staff to get all that material combined following the TAC meeting.
Okay, I appreciate the reason I was going to ask that, because that leads into, I understand December, and I don't think there necessarily needs to be an adjustment for that. January, would we want to move the policy board to January 24th as opposed to 17th, following that same methodology?
And we could do that as well. Yeah, because that still leaves time in the policy board and TAC.
I missed that.
So there would be another proposed change to move the policy board to January 24th.
And I'm not trying to be critical, I just want to be consistent there with those.
Yeah, that was definitely one we missed. Any other questions, comments on the proposed calendar? The motion I need is to recommend approval, so we can take this to the policy board with the additional date change for January 2024 policy board meeting.
From the calendar date to the 24th.
Yes.
So move.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, agenda item 6 is a discussion and action item regarding resolution 2023-08, supporting October 2023 as Walk to School Month. James.
And so our annual resolution that we've done for 4 or 5 years now, I think, to do the support Walk to School Month. And I know the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee is meeting in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure they'll be talking quite a bit about biking and walking, and hopefully the weather cools down, so that's more conducive for people biking and walking. I think nothing's changed other than the date in the resolution from last year.
Thank you, James. Any questions on the resolution? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
So move.
I have a motion to recommend approval of the resolution. And a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Agenda item 7 is a discussion and action item regarding initiation of public involvement for an amendment to the congestion management process.
Thanks, Ryan. So last year during our federal certification review, we had one, our FHWA requested one corrective action, our CMP, the congestion management process. They felt it did not adequately analyze the impact of completed added capacity projects. And so over the summer, we've been working with TTI for them. They have a congestion management tool that our system is on, and they've collected some data for us and helped us summarize it. And we've compiled that for 10 projects that have been completed, 10 added capacity projects that have been completed since 2016 in the region, into an appendix, and just mostly it's data, but also a little analysis based on the trends of did projects seem to work. A lot of them have been completed within the last 2-3 years, so we're recommending continuing to monitor it for most of those. But this appendix was sent out in the email, and there's some printed copies over there. We are required to have a 15-day public comment period. I think the schedule's on the next slide, yeah. And a public hearing, since this is an amendment to one of our plans, and we bring the appendix back in October for approval before submitting to FHWA. Happy to answer any questions, or if you have any after the meeting, since there's a lot of data in the appendix.
Got a couple things in the email, just some documents on Prairie Road. We're showing the completion date in 21. You guys are talking about December 20th, sent you the letters from our project manager.
Okay.
So if you could have the consultant double check that.
I can say the dates, completion dates, those were pulled straight from TxDOT system. So I can reach out to Brett and Victor, but that's what was showing in the online system.
Sure. And then on that one, at the blurb at the top, it says figure 29 displays the project limits for K30 dash.
Thank you.
And one last one. The map for the Whiskey 4002 is the wrong project extent. .4002 is the short one that should come into height.
Mm-hmm. They just flipped them.
Yeah.
4006 and 4002. Okay. Those are easy changes.
I think overall, I mean, the data paints a great picture. What we've done has had a positive impact. As much as people like to gripe about 35, the numbers on the section through and north of Temple, that tells the tale.
All right, any other questions, comments, discussion? Like I said, this action item is to consider recommending initiation of public involvement. And this will come back before the Tax and Policy Board at the October meetings. Do I have a motion?
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
This is a process, so these are policies of how to establish reduction in congestion. So, is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a whole plan that details how we want to address congestion. Yes.
So the current one was not adequate according to the bid. So what kind of changes have you made to it that make it compliant?
So what the federal certification review said is we didn't provide any documentation for what the impact of completed projects referenced in the plan was. So this appendix takes all those completed projects and actually shows the data of how they impacted. And this should put us right at the federal highway.
Process is sound. They just needed evidence.
Correct.
That it was in fact effective.
Yeah.
I see.
This data wasn't explicit enough for them. This is the data, and here's how it's affecting.
So the public involvement process would be to look at the appendix, see if people disagree with or agree with the methodology or process on these projects.
Yeah.
That's reflected in these projects.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And for everyone's information, when we were looking at this, we had thought that the congestion management process, the original plan was created in 2016. We are wanting to update that. We didn't have sufficient time to give it to really do a good job with it. And so this is kind of let's make sure we're getting into compliance with this appendix. And then next year, in the next couple of years, we'll update the plan fully and do it needs a more full refresh. It's coming up on 7 years old now, I think.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Ryan, we have, there's 12 people online, but they can't hear the discussion, so if y'all could just speak up a little bit. All of our mics are up on the loudest they can be.
Can they hear us now?
They can hear us, it's just
low?
quiet, yeah.
Okay, I'll try to talk a little loud.
Use our outdoor voice?
Yes, use your outdoor voice, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, discussion on that?
I think to, Bob's point about the process, you can look at the data for the segments, but you're using Prairie View Road as an example. Okay, the segments are free flowing, where we're seeing congestion ongoing is the intersection of 317. So is there room, or does it make sense to look at some intersection improvements? Of course, the answer is yes. We've got money budgeted to do some targeted intersection analysis. Doesn't need more turn lanes at the signal timing. Sometimes the answer for a complicated intersection, you can't run it off one cabinet. You need two cabinets. So what's the solution to help that intersection perform better? If the intersection performs better, then you're not getting the congestion back up the roadway segment. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, but it's that process of doing the project, looking at the data, trying to identify the cause, implement the solution, then come back when you've got enough time to have enough data to then say, okay, did that work? And this shows that by and large, yeah, they are. But sometimes it's not just simple as, well, we widen the road, problem solved. It's
an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing thing. The area continues to develop.
Right.
So what the project that we put in place, maybe the situation changes. We put in Prairie View Road. Belton ISD puts in a new high school next to the elementary school. That changes the traffic patterns in that area. So we have to continually reevaluate. So I think that's why this is
And that's why they got us.
process.
That's why they got, that got us, if you will.
Thank you.
And because they wanted to see what that data looks like, and for us to use that data to make informed decisions on how to improve continuously. All right.
I mean, just a passing thought, I guess. Based on what you were saying, this is a snapshot in time, these projects. So there's no temporal or long-term analysis or projection involved. So it is what it is today, because, more capacity attracts more cars. Right. That's exactly what you're saying, or maybe what you're saying.
A
So,
little both.
yeah, a little both, but it doesn't necessarily, there's a dip in, all the factors that are considered in the process, but it doesn't sustain it. Right, because of growth and, land use patterns and things like that, and travel choices. So the sustainability of it is, I guess, something that is the challenging part for congestion management. It's going to change. We'll end up doing something on these, these projects eventually in the future, near or long term. Example 35 going through Belton in Temple is, just expanded. Of course, it makes it more attractive for people to get on the road. Now it's pretty much the same thing what it was before we started. So it's a very challenging process to keep up with demand for low congestion or adequate congestion.
To your point about the temporal side, back in the appendices, and I know this because we went and basically wrote a white paper for TxDOT, try to get money for the section 35. Went back to the original 2016, the consultant did all the modeling, all the HERE data, all the INRICs, ranked all the major roads saying this is #1 congestion. 2018 did an update. I want to say it was 2020. And you can see different roadway segments, you change position, change ranking. You know, whether that was we completed a project or new high school came in or something else happened to change the driving patterns. But there is some, you can go, like you said, it's a snapshot of time, but you can see some changes over time. So it's important to go back and look at it. And I use the exhibits from that appendices to say, look, 2016, this segment of I-35 was, I forget, it was like 12 or something. Then went 8, and then it was #1. So just look, this road keeps getting worse. It's time to do something. So I don't know if that's if that's what you were looking for when you said.
Yeah, my general statement was, you're talking about, it may be time to update the process. Policies, the procedures, and I agree, there needs to be some serious thought to giving how we manage congestion. It's almost a losing battle once you even start. It's kind of like digging a hole in the ocean.
Right.
Anyway, that's my point. Yep, thanks. Here we go.
Any other comments? So now I will entertain a motion to recommend initiation of public involvement.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries. All right. Agenda item 8 is a discussion item only regarding updates on the KTMPO work groups. The project scoring prioritization working group is closed out as we are undergoing the project call right now. The bylaws working group, we met last month. There have been some more draft revisions made and sent out to that working group. Once the working group members are good with that, the draft bylaws will go to the policy board for further review and possible action. The safety working group, James?
The safety working group met last month after TAC and is scheduled to meet again after policy board in 2 weeks. Staff are working on some research right now to look at how other MPOs are setting methodologies, if they are, and the plan is to provide that information to the working group for review and discussion, and then we'll have one more meeting, maybe a few more meetings. We'll see how it goes from there. But that's the update.
Any questions on the working groups?
Ryan, just in general, how did y'all feel? I mean, I know we're not complete with this, but how do y'all feel about the concept of working groups as opposed to everybody trying to tackle these individual projects?
I think it's a good use of time because I admittedly can ramble and get on my soapbox now. Better to do that. And I mean, Daryl and I had some great conversation, and it took us getting on our soapbox and rambling around for a minute before we figured out what we were trying to say. So I think a working group is the proper venue to do that, as opposed to, agenda-driven meeting where we've got stuff to do. I think we should keep doing the working groups and just keep bringing back, what we discussed, what we decided off of those groups, get back to tackling policy. And same the discussions we had with the safe streets.
Yeah.
Kind of separate purpose, but same method.
Along those lines, you had mentioned taking the draft bylaws to policy board, but it's going to come to this body first, right?
Correct. All right, and just so everybody knows, we're kind of unique a unique MPO. I'd venture to say 90% of the MPOs in our state, the TAC never sees what the policy board is doing and vice versa. So we're very unique in that methodology. So I think it is important that we continue that process and bring the bylaws, even though it's a policy level document, to the TAC for additional input, especially since the TAC is referenced in the bylaws. And there's some revisions being made to that portion. So. Any other questions, comments, discussions? That was a discussion item only. Moving on to agenda item 9, this is a discussion item regarding an update on the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. I sent out an email late last week, I think maybe Saturday, to all the jurisdictions, policy board members, requesting that a placeholder be put on city council agendas if possible, just so that if there were updates to provide, we could use that time toward our in-kind match. Additionally, we are in the final stages of signing our agreement with the consultant, Killeen-Temple. We are working through the scope of work for that. I believe we'll have that finalized this week. And then Killeen-Temple will hit the ground running. And other than that, the other thing I have is for this Safe Streets and Roads for All, we need to set up a safety task force. Because this is a joint, this was a joint application between CITCOG and KTMPO. I'd like to see if there are any members of the MPO TAC, and I'll ask the policy board as well, that would like to participate as part of the safety task force that will meet and discuss safety concerns with the consultant for the Safe Streets and Roads comprehensive safety plan update. If you have an interest in serving on the safety task force, please let me know. If you don't have an interest, please let me know. If you don't feel like letting me know anything, that's fine as well. I'm easy to get along with. So if you have an interest in serving on the safety task force, the opportunity is going to be there. And I anticipate that task force will probably meet initially within the next month, maybe virtually. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, because we also have to coordinate with the counties that are participating that are not part of the MPO. All right. Any questions on the Safe Streets and Roads for All? All right. Seeing none, we will move to agenda item 10, which is a discussion item regarding an update on the possible MPO boundary expansion. At this point, I do not have any updates. The UTP, like we mentioned earlier, has been finalized, so hopefully that'll free up some of those folks that were working on the UTP to get us some of the financial information we were looking for on that. Any questions on that? Moving right along. Agenda item 11 is a discussion item regarding public input received through August 2023. James.
We did have one new comment. If you weren't aware, we've started posting recordings of our meetings on our YouTube, or on YouTube. We have a channel, and on the policy board recording from last month, which had a presentation from NCT-COG and another company on Hyperloop, that someone responded to that and felt like we were wasting our time, since Hyperloop was apparently debunked. But I'm not sure the validity of that claim, but that is the comment we received on that YouTube video recording.
Thank you, James. Questions, comments on the comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move to agenda item 12, which is member comments. Do any members have any comments?
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
It was more of just an announcement more than anything. Sometime back, I think I told you that we were putting a proposal into Fort Cavazos as far as providing microtransit service on base, similar to what we're putting together for the cities and the counties. So we did receive word that our course of action was accepted. An agreement has been put together between the Pentagon and Fort Cavazos. And I think yesterday we received the agreement between Fort Cavazos and Hill Country Transit District. So it's definitely a good thing. It adds, it really almost, it's like adding another city into the urban system. And they're providing $4.7 million for this coming year to provide those services, and definitely a big step forward. And we've also, when we put that proposal together, I should clarify, this service is not for soldiers necessarily. They've got buses out there. They can run the soldiers wherever they need to. This is for dependents and family members. To get them on and off the base into town, we did add I think we call it a $10 per service hour connection fee to connect Fort Cavazos' services into the connector route in the urban region. So it's definitely a good thing. It's a good injection into the coffers to expand our service, and it also brings that $10 per service hour will translate to about $500,000 coming over to help the urban region as well. So it's very, very good news.
So will some of that, I guess, offset or allow the cities to provide more service with the
Well, it
influx of
helps
funding?
pay for the connector route. So
For the
it's-
connector route.
Right, connect, yes.
But it's not going to be something that, say I live in Killeen and I'm a soldier's husband. That's not something Fort Cavazos would pay for, or the city of Killeen would be paying for that trip.
Getting around the base, so it's the same thing as what we're doing everywhere else. We've got zones on the base, and we've got a circulator route on there. But, so that will be provided as an ongoing service on base. But there is this $10 per hour connection fee, which does come over into the urban section. So really, it's to get dependents from the base into the regional system, urban regional system. So it's, Killeen would not be paying for any of that. They're paying totally for those dependents, and vice versa. They're two totally independent systems. The dollars don't really mix except for the $500,000 to help pay for the connector route.
Okay.
So because those dependents will be riding the connector route. And the connector route, by way of reminder, goes from Cove all the way out to Temple.
All right. Daryl, did you happen to mention that this is the first model of the Department of Defense?
Oh, thank you. You know, I don't know if I've mentioned this here or not. This is a nationwide, actually a worldwide problem for the Army. There's 77 installations around the world. And this is a pilot program, the first of its kind, to provide transportation solely for dependents. I guess it's just been something that's been overlooked many, many years. Derek is ex-Army. He's told me many horror stories about, you know, they're great about moving the soldiers around wherever they need to go, but you've got, you know, spouses, you've got kids. And, you know, especially in the lower ranks, they don't make a lot of money. They don't have a lot for maybe an extra vehicle or even any vehicle. So these dependents a lot of times get stuck on base and even can't get around on base very well either. So yeah, it is a pilot program nationwide. We're already hearing stories. I think we got some information from Fort Sill, so they're considering it, but this is something that they want to eventually project worldwide in all 77 installations. Now, it requires there being some sort of a transit entity nearby. So Europe is in great shape. They do a lot of this in the cities around the bases, but they don't do it on the bases. Yeah, it's definitely a positive.
Any other member comments? Going once, going twice. All right, agenda item 13, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.